Welcome back, guys and gals. So this week I'm gonna give you a little 2-for-1 and also just kind of let you know what's been going on. So let's get to sharpening. So for the first thing, I'm gonna do a reel mower. So got called out primarily for this, did a few knives as well, but this was the primary focus of what I went out for. And a lot of people think sharpening reel mowers is hard, but it's actually a lot easier than you think. So watch for a little bit and see if you can figure out, but I'll explain it a little later. So I know a lot of you are going to ask, hey, what's the advantage of a reel mower and why would you even want it sharpened? So the cool thing with reel mowers, they act kind of like scissors. So instead of it being like a shearing motion of the typical lawnmower blade, you're getting more of a cutting action. So instead of it being ripped and tearing and ripping, it works a lot better. But the problem is manual exertion. You can get reel mowers that are motorized, but part of the fun is them being mechanical and you having to do all the work yourself. They're definitely a bit different. I used one for a property several years and it's a workout. It's a lot of fun, but it's a workout. But we're also now going to transition over to a knife with some pretty good damage. So let's get over to that. So if you look, you can just barely see where that nick was. So I'm still going to go back and do a little bit more. It's close, but not quite there. So now we're going to transition back to the reel mower, but I wanted to touch bases with you first. So there's a lot of different ways that you can remove dents and dings out of knives. This is a pretty bad one, not the worst I've seen, but you have to take an even profile along the entire way, or else you have to rethin the primary bevels, all that kind of stuff. It takes a while, and also you'll see that later in how I go about addressing that secondary bevel and also thinning it ever so slightly. I don't like to thin too much, but at the same time, you need to thin at least a little bit when you're going up that much. So just something to note if you ever do address some damage. But let's get back to that reel mower and I'll explain a little bit more of what's going on there. So what you see me doing right now is adjusting the blades ever so slightly so that they make contact, because it's the one single bar running along the bottom and then a bunch of like cylindrical blades that make the shearing motion. So right now I'm just adjusting it so that I can actually get the valve grinding compound on and let it do its magic. So can you guess which way the reel has to spin in order to sharpen? Leave that down in the comments. Let me know what way you think they spin in order to sharpen. I'll probably address it in the next video, but I want to see what your guys' guesses are for which way it spins. And I wanted to show you, sometimes I struggle too. I'm so used to doing this on the tailgate that it's trial and error, but at the same time, as long as it gets sharp, that's the ultimate goal. And I also realized the other side needed to be adjusted a little bit more because it just wasn't making any contact with the valve grinding compound. That does come and bite me in the butt here towards the end when I'm adjusting it fully. But little thing for you is when you're adjusting reel mowers, do the same on both sides. I mean, sometimes you don't get that, but good majority of the time you're adjusting both sides evenly. On that side. That should do her. Nice and clean, nice and clean. Blades look good, blades look good. So now we've got a good majority of the reel mower done. They're not terribly hard in all honesty. I know a lot of people are scared to do them because it's a lot of just taking parts apart and making sure that you don't lose them, and then also putting it back together correctly at the very end. But once you get that down, it's really not that hard. All you really need is the valve grinding compound or just some abrasive compound. I personally like valve grinding compound because you can go to any hardware store or automotive store and get it. So easily sourced. And then like a little paintbrush, which you see me using to paint on the valve grinding compound. You're just trying to get it down enough so that it's making a good contact surface so that it's acting like a scissor and cutting correctly. But let's get back to those knives. I'm gonna just run you through. The gentleman had like 5 or 6 knives, but that one was the worst, so we're just gonna blaze right through these other ones and then we'll get back to the reel mower. One thing I've been testing out is, I mean, my grip progression has stayed very similar, the 120, 600, and then strop with Tormek pace. Still want to try the diamond pace, but that's going to be when I run a Tormek pace, which probably won't be for a while. But the thing that I'm implementing now is doing the 600 grit behind the angle guide, which you probably just saw. So instead of me going in front, like when I do the lower grits, I'm doing behind the angle guide. It makes it a little bit less chattery, so it works really nice. So I'm experimenting, see if I like it, don't like it, but the results so far have been very promising. I think we're close enough. Let's give her like rinse. I'm going to goes with that. We're gonna go like should be that way and free the other way. Push it forward. Pull it. That's good. Okay. That's what good there. Like that. Goes on like that. This is like that. This, whatever. Let's go. I always get confused by these. Somewhere in the butt right there. Again, I guess. That's why. Okay, good. It's just a matter of sliding you back on and tighten it up. Light adjusting, but other than that, that should do. So I will say the one thing, the bane to my existence with the reel mowers, the adjustment of the physical blade. That's probably the worst part about taking them apart, putting them back together, is correctly adjusting it, because you can't put too much pressure, or you can't push it. I mean, you can push it, but you have to be an animal in order to be able to actually push it at that point. Or, like, when I first took it apart, you saw that it was just free spinning and wasn't making enough contact. So you have to do a nice balance. And there's a forward screw and a backward screw. The forward screw makes the blade go further away. The back screw makes it go closer. So you have to get that balance on both sides. But once you do that, I mean, the sharpening process is relatively easily. Literally, valve grinding compound and a brush, and more than likely you can do it. Okay, I won't keep you waiting any longer. So, in the next clip, you'll see what that knife looks like after it's been restored, thinned out a little bit, and sharpened. I was mildly scared because he set it on an apple and looked like he was holding it with a pretty firm grip, and it just barely goes in. And I'm like, what? That should be cutting really well. He wasn't putting any pressure on it. And I'm like, oh. So I was happy very happy with the results. He was ecstatic with the results. So goes to show you, make sure that, like, looks can be deceiving. That was definitely the case in this one. So another happy customer. If you made it this far of the video, first off, thank you so much. I really do appreciate just you coming and spending some time with me. So before you go, I do want to give you one more thing. So for those of you that saw my barbecue video, you heard that my truck died about 3 miles to the competition. So luckily got it home, got it fixed, and that was a process in of itself. But turned out to be the ignition coil. So for the older vehicles, it's a single ignition coil. A lot of the newer vehicles, you get like a coil pack or that kind of stuff. But turns out this was the problem. It created several other problems, so I had to do that, which was the final straw, thankfully. The crank position sensor, plugs, wires, cap and rotor, and I think that was it, if I remember correctly. But it was a little bit of an ordeal. I'm glad to be driving it again. I mean, this is part of what my business is just being able to set up on that tailgate and just sharpen. I love this truck. It's been my dream truck since I was little. So until next time, stay happy and healthy. Take care.